Alright, hello guys, I'm UnoPro and today I'm back with another video from the beginner replay series. Now first of all, before we get into the replay, I have a couple of giveaways I wanted to do for you guys based on the new promotion week of enrollment. So basically I've got it up on screen now. What you have to do is you have to get a certain amount of levels depending on your current level, and if you can reach those levels by October the 1st, then you'll be rewarded with 3 packs from the new expansion. I believe it's before it's even out. So that's pretty cool, guys. I know it can be a lot, especially if you're one of those higher levels. So I do have some XP boosts I can give away to help you guys out with them. So I don't want to make it too difficult for you guys. So first of all, I want you guys to comment in the Reddit thread, the YouTube comments, or on the forum, basically telling me what's your favorite card and why. And I'll be giving one XP boost away, XP boost code away to each person in the top 3, I guess. I don't know how exactly I'm going to judge them, but basically just give me your opinion, why you love it, and maybe any cool uses you have with it. Second of all, I'm going to give a couple more codes away to someone who can send me in the replay of their best comeback game. So guys, it's not just about the life total, it can be about card disadvantage, it can be board advantage, or maybe just a really cool plays that actually bring you back into the game. So that's basically the announcements for now. Hopefully I can do some more giveaways coming up for this week of enrollment, because I know it is pretty cool to get those packs, but it can be hard without those XP boosts. So guys, let's get into the replay today. Okay, so big thanks to Razorel for sending in his replay. He was a pretty new player at the time, as was his opponent, and he's playing Arianna of the Severed Fates. Both heroes are Necro heroes, Sveltana. It does seem like there is a lot of Sveltana at the lower elos, and Sveltana can be quite strong. It can be punished at high elos, especially in stuff like Stronghold, where even though its creatures may have life drain or some cool recurring effects, they're simply outclassed at times by Stronghold and Inferno creatures. So guys, let's get into the game. We'll start this one out. He chooses to mulligan. He had an alright hand, and he's kind of drawn into a bad one. It's not too bad though, he does have some nice spells. But arguably he could keep that hand. I mean, sometimes you just want to keep a solid hand, even though you could get a lot better, because you could get a lot worse, and that could really set you behind. Especially when going first, it can be quite difficult. Now his opponent has a decent hand. He's not going to be able to play everything on curve, like he won't be able to play Soul Weaver on 4. I'm not sure about having the Void Wraith, as it does have 2 fortune. As you can see, Sveltana starts at 0 fortune, so it's going to take a long time. And increasing 2 resources, 2 requirements, just to play that, isn't really going to be worth it. As even though maybe you get 3 damage out of it, that's 2 cards you could potentially be drawing with your hero power instead of increasing that fortune. And basically with Sveltana and Arianna as well, it's mainly just the might and the magic. So pretty standard start here. So the Vampire Knight has been played in front. He probably should move this here. Okay, so the idea is we have to consider how we're going to kill it. With the Vampire Knight, if you can only deal 2 damage to it in one turn, you have to be able to deal 5 damage to it in the next turn. So let's consider this. Basically, if this heals up, we still have nothing in our hand that can easily deal 1 damage to it, and so we're not really lining up to kill it. So him simply moving this down is not bad. Now if we had the spell that does 2 crippling counters to all creatures on an enemy row, then sure, we can make this play, bait him into protecting the Vampire Knight. But without this, we're simply it's really hard to deal with. Now we do have the Insect Swarm. It's probably the best play here, though we're not really using our resources as efficiently as we'd like to. We're using 4 resources, and then we can only use our Insect Swarm. So it's not the best, but we do manage to clear the board. But as you can see, he quickly falls behind on the board control, as this Vampire Knight's going to be doing a lot more than the Neophyte Lich. It's not too bad here. So his opponent does have the Death Lord here, which could be troublesome. Though we do have the Soul Weaver in hand if we needed it. So his opponent chooses to resurrect the vampire. Now, don't really appreciate this play. I think it's much better to get the Archlich out. If you want to play patiently, you can always draw a card and play an Archlich and play around the Soul Reaver or stuff like Banshees in the future. So I think that was a bit of a mistake. We want to be spending our resources efficiently and get as much strength onto the board as immediately as possible. So he chooses to increase might in order to play the 5-drop. Could also increase magic, especially since he's running a couple spells I saw above 4 magic, just to allow him to play both. But I guess that does have added benefit of maybe he can play it and draw a card and then increase magic next turn. But in reality, what we want to do when we're upping our requirements is we want to up them so that we have as many options as we can next turn, because we don't know what our opponent's going to do. So we have an alright hand here. Still, the main problem we're having in this one is spending our resources efficiently. So we spend 4 resources to kill an Archlich, and then we can't do anything else for the turn. So maybe what he could have done, he could have played this, threatening this, possibly just take the 3 damage. It's hard to say, he is behind on the board. But it's just really the main problem both players are having is not spending their resources very efficiently. So these Vampire Knights are proving to be a huge problem, and they are incredibly strong cards. Don't get me wrong, guys. But you need to consider how you're going to burst them down, how you're going to deal 4 damage in one turn. 5 damage in one turn, sorry. So Husfer comes down. We do have Soul Reaver, but his opponent can Day of the Sanctuary of it, which he obviously forgets about. So possibly I think I would Soul Reaver that. Probably rather than playing the Moonsilk Spider, and if you play it here, you're arguably even on board. So that's probably what I would have done. Husfer can prove to be a bit of a problem, especially if left unchecked. Especially with Sveltana, it does have those air spells that can deal 6 damage to a creature. So even if you have a 7 HP creature, it can actually hit that and then finish it off to steal it itself. So the Wither comes down. It's not too bad. It's going to stop that crippling effect. So do the Moonsilk Feathers. So we're not too far behind him board. And it's definitely possible to win from him. Though we do need to start being careful about our life total. We're down to 7. So his opponent can increase his fortune to play this first Void Wraith, which I assume he will do, seeing as he has 2 of them in hand. Which he does. Chooses to play it in the bottom row. So we actually have Damran, which is actually a really nice counter to Void Wraith, as it does infect counters on each creature. So one's going to be enough to kill it, obviously, and because infect occurs on your opponent's turn, it's not going to deal 3 damage to you using the Void Wraith. So basically his options here are either play Damran, kill off the Void Wraith and put some counters on something else. Not the best. The other option he has is simply to Soul Reaver Husfer and then play the Untamed Wraith to block off this Void Wraith, as without Mass Rage we don't have to attack into it. There's no reason to give our opponent free damage if we can avoid it. So we can play that, block it off, and kill Husfer off. We're fine on board, we're arguably ahead. The Void Wraith's not going to be doing anything, and we can damn her next turn. So he chooses to block with this, and I'm not really sold on it. Any damage at all increase, we'll be able to kill this off and get the Husfer ability. And I definitely wouldn't attack into the Void Wraith at only 7 HP. You're just taking too much damage, and it's actually quite possibly died this turn. If any way to boost up one of these creatures, plus the Soul Reaver, would get in for 3 damage. His opponent possibly could have just gone for the Soul Reaver. As you can see, the Boneyard placed incorrectly, no shooters in the graveyard, but we did have those Moonsilk skeletons, so you could start blocking off over here. I wouldn't block off here because then you're going to get the Husfer ability, but if you block there, Boneyard there, you're still fine. So here, the most likely play seems to be either Damran, or we can play this as well as this, which is both fine. I would honestly consider that myself. Probably it spends our resources quite efficiently, as well as killing off Husfar, which we need to kill off, especially when it's threatening this untamed Wraith. So I definitely wouldn't have attacked there, because that's going to put us down to 1 HP. Any Soul Reaver, any Banshee is going to kill off any lane we can't double block. And especially if we're playing Damran anyway, then I definitely would have put one on the Void Wraith and not attacked. If the plan is just to kill off Husfar with the Damran, I probably would have played the Putrid Lamia and the Soul Reaver. It just makes it cleaner. It'll help us survive a little bit longer potentially. So yeah, just a couple of misplays. We wanted to kill this Husfar, we let it go unchecked, and we could still kill it off and spend our resources efficiently. Now we currently have a Banshee, but nowhere to play it. And we probably want to save this Atropos for when we have a Banshee in the graveyard, which I do not believe we have. No, we don't. So we have a Soul Reaver, and this could be used for possibly the Death Lord. It's probably the best bet. Husfar is okay, but it's not guaranteed to die off next turn anyway. So I choose the Death Lord, which is perfectly fine. So you can play the Putrid Lamia now. Nothing really to get out of the graveyard with the Atropos, so you can definitely save that, especially considering it has a Banshee in hand. And this will leave him with enough resources to draw a card first, and then play the Putrid Lamia. So he does have board advantage in the long run. He will start to get card advantage and defenses up with the Boneyard. They're still playing quite risky. So he chooses just to play the Banshee, which is fine. Chooses not to kill off Husfar, which is a tad greedy, possibly, considering that he has the infect counters and it only had one attack, but it's perfectly fine. I mean, you can argue about it either way. And giving a 2/0/3 Banshee isn't the end of the world. We have a couple magic creatures out on the board anyway. So Sasquatch is continuing to just use the Sveltana ability to continue to get vampires back from the graveyards. And this can be problematic for decks. I mean, there's a lot of creatures going to be playing in succession. And at 1 HP, any attack will kill us. So we really need a double block off every lane. And fortunately, we do have the ability to potentially Day of the Sanctuary this turn. So it wouldn't spend our resources as efficiently, depending on what play we go for. But that'll prevent us being like double Soul Reavered, potentially. Probably not this turn, considering there's a couple lanes we need a double block. But it's just something to keep in mind. So I probably would have just drawn a card first here. And we're not out of the woods yet. Any one damage is going to kill one of this creature here, and a Soul Reaver can kill this for the win quite easily. So he has the Day of the Sanctuary available. I believe he doesn't use it, which is a bit of a mistake here. Probably would have used it on any one of these ones really here. So I believe his opponent does miss lethal there. Simply had to just kill off 2 creatures and attack. Had a lot of hard removal, so that's a mistake from my opponent, and it's not going to happen a lot, but when it happens we need to punish it. We need to gain back board control, and funny, so we're able to get the Banshee back with the Atropos. I believe he chooses not to go for the Putrid Lamia. It's not a bad play, honestly. I don't mind the line. As he needs to defend in the early turns. It's a great defensive creature, and it's not going to use up too many resources. At this point in the game, ideally, you want to be trying to draw a card every turn, as that can generate long-term card advantage, especially if your opponent can't. But we need to make sure we're drawing cards first, and that can come back to hurt. And we can see this Boneyard starting to do some work with the Neophyte Lich, though any hard removal would still give him the win. So he can draw a card here. I would probably draw a card. He continues to choose to resurrect a vampire. So from Sveltana's perspective here, we've got him down to 1 HP, which is great. But we're losing board control and we're losing it quickly. So what we need to do, we need to get a creature on the board, protect it with the Day of the Sanctuary, and then we need to look for spells or a couple big threats to actually get through that final damage. And simply recurring a vampire, sure, they can be a bit annoying to deal with, but should we be able to deal with them, there's no way they can get through creatures. So let's just say he just play one creature, his opponent will probably double block, but if you can draw a Soul Reaver, something else, he has other options to actually win the game. And the average card on the deck is going to be equal, around equal at least, to the vampires he can bring back. And so with plenty of resources, it's definitely the correct way to just draw a card there, I'd say. So he chooses Town Portal, his own Damron. He can kill with one creature and put an infect counter on the other. He's still at risk of dying to Soul Reaver or any other target removal. I would probably move this back here. Basically, this is just a player. Soul Reaver, we're dead either way, but should his opponent have the Lightning Bolt, he can't simply Lightning Bolt this for the win, as this will be in the way. And this Damron will be able to withstand the Lightning Bolt anyway. Just probably what we've done. Just a small decision, but when we do have that board control, but low on life, we need to consider every option our opponent has to win the game, and then see can we play around it, and if we can, then that's what we go for. So Damron can kill off one of these Vampire Knights, which is quite nice. So here he does have the option of Hailstorming to clear off most of the board. I think it's perfectly fine, though obviously if you're going to do it, don't play your own creatures first. But as we can see, he's actually in a really nice position now. He has two lanes, double blocked lane in the bottom row, which is the only lane his opponent can possibly win from. So his opponent will need to go back to back with spells. And his opponent's no cards in hand. And also, probably the only way the Sveltana can really come back from a lost ball control is Father Sky's Wrath, which will basically return one creature to hand and deal 6 damage to all remaining fire creatures, which can be really good against an Echo, but he has no fire creatures out on the board, so he can't really be worried. Don't believe Sveltana is, but we don't know that. We should definitely be playing around it. So he chooses to trade Damron. Probably once again to draw a card first, and I would probably use this Day of the Fortune immediately just to see what we get. He does actually have the option of destroying a creature with a counter. Oh, sorry, no, that's an infect counter. So yeah, it can show this does bring up another point though. It does bring up the late game power Arianna can't have, especially stuff with like recurring Moonsilk Skeleton with a Boneyard. It can be quite hard to deal with if you can just attack Arianna ability and deal with any threat. So even if it's a little bit inefficient, doesn't matter because you're in the late game, plenty of resources. So choose the Day of the Fortune last. As we can see, kind of a continued problem with drawing cards last. I mean, it's not uncommon at all. I see everybody do it. I see top players do it. I see low level players do it. Happens to everyone. Try and stay disciplined, guys. It is really useful and it can change your play, potentially win you the game. So Sveltana's all but run out of steam now. There's really nothing she can do, and she continues to resurrect vampires. It's not really going to do much. She needs to look for the win. She needs to look for a way to push through damage. Maybe build up a little bit of a combo of spells. And just hope Arianna can't deal with her creatures. So we have the board control now. I would probably just Day of the Fortune the Undead Minotaur. I mean, it's not a bad card, but with two of them, it's a good chance we get a better one. So I'd probably go for that. After drawing a card, I would definitely do it on. Well, I mean, you can do the Dispel Magic on this, which he chooses to do, which is perfectly fine to kill it off. But I'll definitely use the Day of the Fortunes first, as I think with two of them cycling twice, we can definitely find a card better than the Undead Minotaur. And maybe even find something to kill off the Archlich, as that's basically the only way we can actually lose the game from here. Is if double spell finish off with the damage. So his opponent is still continuing to resurrect vampires. Now he's a new player, probably sees how powerful Sveltana's ability can be, and things don't just continue to do it, continue to soak up value. But he'd be much better off just drawing cards. So choose the Hailstorm, which will allow him to kill off everything perfectly. And from here, despite how low his health is, with no cards in hand, it's extremely hard to lose from here. What he could have done here is just move the tree down, get the Moonsick Skeleton at the end of the turn, have a completely full board, but at this point it doesn't really matter. So his opponent does draw a Curse Found, which will be dealing damage to the hero with based on how much attack damage it does. So this basically means any creature he targets will not be able to attack at all, because he's only at 1 HP. And Arianna has no healing at all really. So he makes careful attention not to attack with the Archlich or the Tropos before bouncing it back to hand. Gets the Banshee back, can get another creature of his choice. Choose to go for the Undead Minotaur. No real advantage to it, but I guess you get to the advantage of just having a good defensive creature, and he has the board control, and he should be able to close it out pretty soon. So the opponent draws a Void Wraith, and after this it's all over basically. There's nothing you can really do. Unfortunately we can't play a Banshee, but he's actually 1 damage off lethal at the moment because of that Void Wraith, so he could Soul Weaver, attack for 5, and then have 1 damage left. Doesn't really matter at this point. And then just make sure to Deus Sanctuary one of these creatures, and there's no way you can lose. Of course, we want to be drawing cards first. Yeah, probably should have Deus Sanctuary there. So the only way you can lose is to running removal spells. Also could have Day of the Fortune, some of those more useless cards later in the game, but at this point it doesn't really matter. We have the Banshee. We just need to find a way to break through with some damage. So is there anything he can kill off here on his own? Does not look like it. We have to draw a card at the moment. Actually, maybe I think you can attack with the Vampire Assassin to kill it off and then play a Banshee. I believe you can still attack with the 0 attack creatures and take retaliation damage. Last time I checked, but I'm not 100% on that. But if you did that, then played a Banshee to kill off, he could have won a turn earlier. But once again, unless he gets the double running spells and he's not even drawing cards, there's no way he's gonna lose the game. So he has to kill a creature, which will allow us to play Banshee, which will allow us to win. So it was a really nice comeback from Razor. He fought back. There was a couple of mistakes, nothing too major though. We can see his opponent didn't play really that well. He was a bit overzealous using the Sveltana ability, but so he did manage to come back. A really nice comeback for 1 HP, so that's always fun. Just the main things to focus on, just really spending those resources efficiently, knowing which threats to kill off, and just think a little bit about when you're dealing with stuff like Void Wraiths, you know. Do you actually want to attack? I mean, you can kill off a creature, but he took way too much damage in the process and really couldn't win. And this brings up another point I just want to quickly talk about. I know it's been a long video, guys, but thanks for sticking by if you've stuck through so far. Once you get into a situation like this Sveltana was in, you need to start considering how you can possibly win. Now sure, you can defend, you can live a bit longer if you bring back a vampire each turn, but are you going to win the game that way? It's very unlikely. So Sveltana should have realized, my main way I can win this game is to open up a lane with 2 spells and then attack for that final 1 damage. But instead he chose to keep recurring the vampires. And so when we're playing as the Arianna in that situation, we need to consider our opponent's threats and how they can win. So do we need to play around Lightning Bolt? can we play around Soul Reaver? Do we play around both? And then, considering that, we can eliminate just some draws that could potentially give us a win. So some draws that our opponent could have that could win in the game, but instead we can react to them and stop that from being a winning line. Now obviously, a lot of the time there's still going to be some lines that can give him a win, but we just need to try and minimize the risk. So that's basically it. So I know this was a long video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Big thanks to Roosevelt for sending in the replay. You will be sent your Griffin Bane code. So guys, make sure to comment your favorite card and why, for some XP boosts, and also to send in your replays of really great comebacks similar to this game. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'm UnoPro, and have a good one.